So let's start. This first question is probably more for Nick and Diego. The scenes in this movie are quite insane. How did you approach them?
Yeah, so I mean, I think I could speak for both of us when I say that we had a great stunt choreographer, Andy Chang, right? He was coming off of Marvel's Legend of the Ten Rings, and he worked with Jackie Chan on previous movies. So we weren't working with somebody who didn't have experience, right? He knows what he's doing. He knows the vision of how to create it, and he knows how to work with actors. So he worked with me and Nick for about, I think, a few weeks before we actually started shooting the movie. And honestly, we couldn't have done it without him and his entire stunt team. You know, we each had different experiences. I think Nick had a lot more stunts than me, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they really helped us out a lot. You know, there was a lot of firsts for us. You know, the wire work and some of these stunts that we had to do. You know, I had never done anything quite as physically intensive, but it's humbling as an actor. You get there and you're training with athletes, and I saw oh, this is why I'm an actor. This is why it's you can see your limitations, but these guys are very, very encouraging and helped guide us through it. And so it turned out to be a lot of fun.
Great, thank you. Funke, how was playing a villain like Gurad? She has her goals, but she has a special bond with the good ones. So how did you approach this role?
Yeah, I really wanted to humanize her and find a way to, have people empathize with her struggle that she has a very particular mission, something that she strongly believes is for the better of the world, but it's at a very great cost of going after her own daughter or adopted daughter. And so that struggle to me was, when I was offered the part initially, a very important one to explore, and where we went with that, so that it had a payoff at the end, and it wasn't just simply, the villain or one of the villains, because we have a lot of villains with no heart, and I think that sets us apart from a lot of the action movies. That is, there actually are character arcs and storylines that there's emotion and heart behind it, and backstory and history that we now were touch upon it in this particular movie. But should there be other sequels or other films coming afterwards, there are many places to go with that.
Thank you. A last question for all of you. Did you know the original manga and anime, and how were you told to approach to your characters?
Yeah, I can speak for all of us when I say we weren't familiar with the original material. When I first read the script, I asked my family back in Ecuador and Mexico. I asked them, I was like, you guys know this anime called Knights of the Zodiac, or Los Caballeros Zodiaco? And they're like, Idiota, sí, claro. That's like one of the greatest animes ever of all time. And I was like, oh, okay, so is it a big deal if I play the Phoenix Knight? And they're like, you're playing the Phoenix Knight? They're like, if you don't play the Phoenix Knight, you're not invited back over here no more. And I was like, okay, well, I have to do it now. So yeah, and on top of that, I was aware of how big of an impact anime has for everybody as an individual who watches it. For me, I grew up watching Dragon Ball Z, right? So I was aware of the weight and impact that not just the anime had, but like each character had, right? Every character, they carry inspiring messages and morals and lessons that we can all learn from. Whether you watch anime or not, you'll see it in our movie, and that's all we could hope for the audience.
Yeah, and I think that's so wonderful about. I did not grow up with any anime or comic books or anything like that, but now, having been part of these adaptations of that over many years, I just love seeing how these are characters who are outsiders, and they struggle. They have internal conflict, and they're trying to make sense of the world that they're in. And in this case of Knights of the Zodiac, this whole notion of Cosmo, what they call Cosmo, of this this untapped source within us that is then connected to something larger outside of us. I think that's just beautiful. It's just such a beautiful notion that I very much in my journey at this point in my life, and because I try to manifest and meditate and all of that, and to tap into that, it is just the fact that this is, on a scale like this, a movie that gets seen by hopefully, millions of people around the world, that's a beautiful message to put out there, to create your own destiny as best as you can.
The first question is for Madison. Your Sienna is destined to become Athena, the goddess of wisdom, but she doesn't control her powers and could become dangerous for those she loves. It's a quite different vision from the classic one, maybe more current and modern. What do you think about it?
I think that the trick with live action is, we want to create a fresh and new experience for people who loved everything that has been done before so much, but then also, staying truthful and respectful and giving the fans exactly what they want. So any single detail of your favorite beloved anything, everything has been talked about for hours at some point. So even like down to Athena's hair, it was a huge conversation from the beginning. So of course there's always going to be some sort of change, but at least for me, diving into the character, I always had the fans in the back of my mind the entire time, and that was, I wanted to give them the best performance of Sienna Athena that I possibly could. So they were kind of always with me, and that was kind of what I carried throughout the entire time filming.
Thank you. Mark, your character Malok has something different from the classic one too. He's a warrior and he strikes very hard.
Thank you.
Did you enjoy playing this over-the-top butler, and how was to approach that absolutely insane action sequences?
Oh, thank you. I loved it, I too wanted to try to bring some of the original essence of the character, and I suppose, when I asked Tomek if I should start growing my hair back or keep it shaved, he said keep it shaved, as in the original Mylok. I did some research, and the original Mylok also had a shaved head, so I had a shaved head. And, he wore very form-fitting clothes, so I wore form-fitting clothes. It'll be interesting to see when we do our sequel that Mylok shows some of his kendo skills, because from what I saw, Mylok was also a kendo artist. But I loved it, and, of course you want to give as much as you can to the fan base that we already have, and then keep it fresh and hopefully, introduce our story and characters to the audience that are not familiar with the show.
Thank you. This question is for both of you. So, did you know the original manga and anime before joining the project? And how were you told to approach this first ever live action version of Saint Seiya?
I don't think either of us knew what it was going into it, which after diving into a bunch of research, soon learned that it never really hit in the United States like it did internationally. So there was a lot of catch up to do, a lot of homework. I think I joined onto this project about a month before we started filming, so I had a lot to dive into. Our story barely covers even the first bits of this entire universe. So I feel like I'm still constantly playing catch up and trying, it just goes on and on and on. But also I think that's exciting if we were to continue and do more films. There's so much opportunity for new faces to come in. There's so many more nights to introduce. There's a lot we have not even started to talk about.
Yes, and I think in a certain way, it was less pressure not knowing how vast the audience is, because, you hear, Diego talk with some of his friends and family members, and they grew up with it.
Yeah, they did.
So it's like, whoa, we hope it's good. We hope they like it.